happy and, in love and so on. But white couples, we don't get that. We get something very different. Hi everyone, it's Stu here from 3B, and today I'm going to be talking about something quite different, but it's related to tech, and that's Google's search bias. Now, you may think that's an odd thing, given that when you search for something, the assumption is that it's going to be very neutral. But having examined it quite a bit, and it's something that I find interesting in whether there is a bias in what the information that we've been presented to us. And we've seen that a lot over the years with adverts and so on that have been misleading, that have been going through Facebook during the whole Brexit thing that happened, and through the US elections and so on. So we see a lot of this sort of pushed bias, either by companies or by companies that own the services that they're providing that you're using, such as Google or Facebook or so on. Now, the thing to understand really is that Google, much like many of the big tech companies, are based in San Francisco, and San Francisco is about as left-leaning as you can get. Now, consider also that when you apply for a job and you go through all the processes of getting a job with Google, much the same with a lot of the big tech firms, is they have a lot of personality tests to understand whether you're more left or right leaning. And it has been found that those that have more left leaning views, that are more liberal, tend to get the jobs, whereas those sort of more right leaning views, more conservative views, would not necessarily be employed by Google. Now, that pretty much you would assume is a given. But when you consider that Google, their machine in creating everything, all their search tools, their advertising tools, their algorithms, their software, everything, and given that Google's search engine is the most widely used search engine, you would hope then that the search results that you receive are neutral and not biased. Now I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to do some searches, and I'm going to show you that that indeed is not the case, that there is in fact a very left-leaning bias towards whatever Google's political liberal views are. Now, Google have tried to address the possibility of that happening, either just in general or within, just search terms that are used, and they created a tool or a sort of an algorithm, a software algorithm called machine learning fairness. Now, this was to make sure that the results that you see are fair and representative. Now, you would then assume, and you'll see in these search results that you'll see in a moment, that this would be across the board, whether gay, straight, lesbian, white, black, whatever. You would assume that those different, but there'd be no sort of differences in what the representation of that search term is pulling back and showing back to you as the result. And that's what you would hope in terms of what that machine learning fairness system should do, that it should be fair and representative, and we, everyone is happy and we can all sit around and sing Kumbaya. However, you also have to consider that Google's programmers, developers, and all the teams and thousands of people working at Google are predominantly very likely to be liberal. So if you're developing something, you're going to have a natural bias towards how that software works or how it perceives things. Now, I can understand why they've used machine learning, because the machine learning element would hopefully take that aspect away. But as we'll see, and I'll show to you in a moment, that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, I have to point out, I got this the information from this from a book I've been reading called The Madness of Crowds by Douglas Murray. It's a really hugely interesting book, and if you're interested in how we've got to the stage of being sort of so crazy about sort of social justice warriors, you know, sort of this whole craziness that seems to have come up over the years and confusion, and it sort of really analyzes where it's come from, where its roots were, why it has got so crazy, and looks as to where all that has come from in different areas and how that has affected everyone's lives, and you know, it's become so pervasive, and how possibly that may change in the future. So I'm going to stop. Once I've finished speaking, you'll see me doing a search, and we will crack on. So let's get on with this. Okay, so here we have Google's normal search. I'm using google.co.uk, but I believe it would be the same for google.com, and I urge you to try this yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Go out to your version of Google and do these same terms. Also, I want to point out, because I know that there are people just so ready to get upset, the search terms are not meant to be racist. There's no racist undertones or racial undertones with it. They are just search terms that highlight the point I'm making. So if there are any sort of people out there that just so readily want to get upset about whatever it is, stop, go and do something else. Don't watch this, because something here may probably trigger you, I'm sure. Anyway, so when Google created their machine learning fairness system, they gave an example. And the example they gave was physicists. Physicists. A lot of physicists in that. So we shall we'll search for physicists, and what we'll do is we'll go to images. Now, this is what Google have used to show fairness. Now, I need to point out a couple of things with this, and this is where, you know, it's kind of representative, it's fair, but, you know, it's fair to say that the majority of physicists over the years, over the past, have been predominantly white men. So this is where we see Google's machine learning fairness system doing its thing. You know, we're seeing Stephen Hawking, you know, we've got a whole gamut, Einstein, of course. And within all of these physicists over history, we have some women physicists, we have some Asian physicists and black physicists, of course. You know, so this is where we see the machine learning really working hard, because predominantly physicists over God knows how many years have been predominantly white men. So it's good to see that we're seeing the fairness system sort of kicking in and showing a representative or representation of what physicists should be seen as today. And that's good, because, say, for instance, if a girl wanted to become a physicist, she may do a search on physicists and just be put off a little bit by the fact that they're all white men. So that's where we see it working. So if we now look for gay couple, now I'm sure, you know, people have been triggered already, and what we get is, you know, representative of gay couples, which is great. And before anyone gets upset, I also want to point out that my dad was gay, so, you know, I'm fine with the whole, you know, homosexual, gay, lesbian thing, you know, so people, please do not get upset. I know there are people out there that are so willing to get upset. But what we're seeing here is a good representation of what gay people are. You know, all shapes, sizes, ages and colours and races and mixes and so on. And it's a good representation of what gay people are. Seeing a good mix there. So let's look for straight couple. And what we see here is we should be getting straight couples all the time, but we're seeing Google's bias start to creep in. We have third photo, queer love. We have, you know, just representations of same-sex couples. That's not what we're searching. You know, quite clearly the opposite of what I'm searching for. We're seeing, you know, why is that? Lesbian couple attacked by straight couple. It's not, that really shouldn't be the point of what I'm trying to search for. I'm just looking for pictures of straight couples. So you can see that Google is trying to push its sort of liberal view into the search results. We're seeing more and more representations of not straight couples, but see what straight couples can learn from. What's that? Can learn from gay couples. Why would that even be in there? That's not what I'm looking for in terms of pictures. So the point I'm making again is that we see a skew away from the point of the search, what I'm looking for. You would expect just tons and tons of pictures of straight people. But we're going to push even further down this rabbit hole. And I'm always wondering how many people are getting upset right now. So if I look for a straight white couple. Now this is the one I find most interesting. Can you see what I can see? A straight white couple, you would assume would be straight white couples. But yeah, first picture, okay, this is perfect. That's what we would want. But why is that picture there? A picture of hate. And then we move further down. Notice that we, you know, white couple jailed for 28 years. Why is that there? That makes no sense. And then we have a black couple, African American couple. Why is that there? You know, like within the third row. And then we see a gay couple, and we say, you know, queer marriage for this. What's that? For the straight couple. You know, it doesn't make sense. We search for, remember, straight white couple, and what we're getting is a real mixture of everything else, sometimes completely the opposite of what we're searching for. And again, I would urge you to do these same searches. Now, all I'm going to do next is I'm going to look for white couple. And the first thing, you would think it would show white couple. And the first thing we have is, yeah, white couple there. And the first thing it shows is a white couple who had black children. A white couple who identify as black people. Black people, black woman brutally assaulted by, I assume, a white couple. You know, that's not representative of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for white couple, not pictures of people that are not. So this shows you that Google's machine learning fairness system is skewing towards their more sort of liberal views. And now if we look for a black couple, all we see are black couples, which is what you would hope to see and expect. That's what you would hope to see. Everyone's happy, black couples being happy and in love and so on. But white couples, we don't get that. We get something very different. It makes no sense. So the point I'm really making with all of this, and I suggest you do this yourself, is that these are just examples. They're extremes of examples. But say, for instance, you're doing a search on the news or politics or anything like that. That could suggest that if it's skewed towards, as we're seeing here, liberal, Google's liberal views, then the search results, when you're just looking for not just images but just normal search, could be skewed as well. There's no reason to suggest that the images would be any different from the search results. So that's what I found, and I thoroughly suggest you read the book by Douglas Murray. It's called The Madness of Crowds. It's that chapter on technology that made me sit up, because it's tech, of course, and it makes you aware that when you expect certain things to be neutral and fair, that in fact it seems to be far from that. Now, Google have admitted that their machine learning fairness system is got some way to go, but it seems oddly skewed. You would expect it to represent those errors or issues to show both, as we can see for white couple here. You would expect, it shows people of people of different races and so on, and it's odd, the first few images, so if we look for black couple, we could possibly assume the same, but no, we get lots of happy black couples, which is what we would hope to get from black couple. So it's very odd. And again, I'm sure people will get upset. Maybe people will complain about this video. I don't know. But the idea is not to upset, but to raise a point about being neutral and how huge tech companies are using their massive influence to possibly push a political, social, or just general liberal agenda onto the masses through a very subtle way of search results. So let me know your thoughts. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that will decry everything I'm doing and saying that I'm just the worst person ever. But remember, all I am is I'm a messenger of what I've read and what I've seen and what I've researched myself. I suggest you do much the same yourself. You will find it yourself. And don't just take my word for it. So let me know your thoughts. Give me a thumbs up. I expect probably quite a few thumbs downs. And don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to click that bell too. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Take care.